Oh, good evening, everyone. Sorry, I had my mic off and didn't realize. Yeah, I'm gonna be drawing stuff and chilling this evening. No real teaching or CSS or anything like that this time. Just gonna take it easy, chill a bit, and have some fun. And I hope everyone is enjoying this season, this December season. It's my birthday season, so you should be enjoying it. If you're not, I hope that everything gets better soon and that you have a good time, with family, however possible, because I know these times are rough, but yeah, we'll try to enjoy this season. And hopefully, this stream will help you to do that. And just a reminder, music this evening, as always, is from Creators Lib free on YouTube. You can check them out. They provide free background music and sound effects for creators like myself. Yeah. Alright, so I will jump in. I don't really have a particular plan, but I do intend to draw something, so we'll see what happens. I have in mind some kind of scene on a spaceship or something in a garden, so I may start one and switch to the other, or I may kind of combine the two, like a kind of technical setting and a garden setting at the same time. I'm not sure what to call it, but we'll figure it out as we go. So yeah. I also had another scene in mind too, which was a person eating ice cream in a city, but that might be a little bit complicated, so I don't know. We'll see what happens. By the way, if you're new here and you're familiar with Inkscape, just a heads up that I'm using a development build, so some things may look a little bit different. I think what I'm going to do actually is combine the two scenes that I was thinking of. So I'll have on one side, I'm going to make this a rough drawing by the way, so let me lock these two layers. I'm going to have a spaceship kind of setting over here, just to do a rough demarcation of where everything will be. So don't mind those squiggly lines that showed up, that's a bug in Inkscape that happens every once in a while using the tablet. Alright, so this will be kind of like a room of sorts. To one side. And over here will be some kind of a garden. I'm just going to do something very rough. This is just to give both myself and those of you who are watching an idea of what I'm planning to do, basically. So I have some sort of a tree. And over here, I'm thinking I'm going to put a person who's in a spacesuit. Don't mind how terrible this looks. This is not the final design. This is just, as I said, a rough idea of what I'm going to draw ultimately. So we're going to have somebody in a spacesuit over here sitting in between two worlds. I'm going to try to get some perspective on them as well. I'm gonna be like this, sitting at an angle. I've been getting in a lot of practice drawing people, but I'm still not very good at it. So we'll see how this goes today. Alright, so they'll be sitting somewhere around here. And to this side will be a garden, as I said. To this side will be the spaceship of some sort. Alright, so with that in mind, let me actually get started. I'm gonna have a demarcation. Oops, wrong layer selected. I'm gonna have a demarcation somewhere around here. And never mind how rough this is, I can definitely improve this a lot when I'm ready. That's one of the things I really love about Inkscape and vector graphics. I mean, you can do it with just about any graphics application. You can clean up anything. But I find that vector graphics really give you some flexibility. Okay, this is further across than I wanted. So the cool thing is I can select this and move it. Right, so about here. And I'm going to rotate it a bit. So I have the right angle. Right, now let me see. I want something over this side. So I'm going to have a floor coming to about here. The person is going to be sitting somewhere in this region. Let me get them a new layer and put them inside of it. Feet are one of the hardest things for me to draw, so I hope I get this to come out like I have it in my mind. I may have to improve this a bit when I'm done. So what I'm gonna do is just get a rough image of the person in place and then lock this layer and improve it later. I'm also going to have to resize some parts of this as well. But that's also one of the reasons I love using vector graphics, is because I can do some things out of proportion on purpose, just so it's easier for me to draw them. And then I can turn around, resize them, put them in place exactly as I want, and everything still looks good. Alright, I'm gonna resize this head. And I'm gonna drop this on another layer as well, so it's easier to work with. Oops. Just a second, folks. I need to adjust my headset because my headset doesn't want to stay on my head. So just give me a second here. Alright, much better now. Much more comfortable. Alright, what should I do with this right arm? Should it come down? Or should it stay by their side? I'm not really trying for realism this time around, I'm just basically doing something random, so if this doesn't look good, no big deal. I think I want to adjust this a bit more. I think I like the original design that I had a little better, so I may actually end up changing the look that this person has altogether. We'll see what happens. Cool thing is though, because I'm drawing on different layers, I can just add and remove as I see fit and still preserve my design. Alright, now what should I add in this spaceship itself? I think I'm gonna have a window somewhere up here. No, it's kind of funny thinking back when I was growing up. I used to think that by this time we would have people literally living on Mars and everything, and nowhere. It's still like talking about that as a future thing kind of feels strange. I remember back in like the 90s, it was everyone talking about how, oh, by 2000 we're gonna have people living on Mars and we're gonna have colonies on the moon and all that stuff, and now it's like, really? It's a little bit presumptuous. I mean, it would be cool if we could live on Mars, but then, you know, it's also a bit ambitious. And pretty expensive. For the most part though, it's just pointless, but it would be still kinda cool, I guess. I often wonder though, what would a spaceship to go to Mars look like? That's an interesting concept. I was gonna try for a different angle on this, like kind of a slanted angle, but as I'm drawing it, I'm thinking that will be a little more difficult to achieve without practice and time, so I'll probably leave that out. I'm gonna draw a ledge instead. Can still achieve some semblance of depth to this image though by using some shading. So that's what I'm going to try to do. Gonna have a plant pot right here with a single flower in it. So basically the concept I have in mind for this image is that we'll have a person who's traveling in space, probably by themselves or something, and they're thinking about being back home in their garden with, you know, like butterflies and all that stuff. And they have this one plant there with them with a flower on it. Kind of makes me think of a story. Not one that actually exists, but just as how my mind works. I'll start coming up with stories based on any random thing, so this kind of made me think of a story, like a person who is actually in that position, what would go through their mind, and you know, what they may imagine or what they may long for, that kind of stuff. Alright, let's see something here. Oh yeah, this person's gonna need some adjustments. I think the original design that I had in this rough drawing is better for the purposes of what I'm trying to achieve here. Alright, so this can go. I forgot that this new layer thingy is not complete yet, so some features don't work as they should. Cool thing is though, it does give me some better functionality, so I can delete all this stuff pretty easily. Alright, that works. If I use the keyboard shortcut, it actually does work. So that's good. Let's see. Now I think I'm gonna get rid of the head too. Oh, that worked too. So this button doesn't work. I never realized that. This button doesn't work. Remove object, but obviously delete layer when you right click does work. That's interesting. So I guess delete object will only delete an actual object, or remove object, sorry. Yeah, it does. Interesting. That could be adjusted, because it is slightly confusing from a user experience standpoint. Alright, so let's see what we will want to do here. Let's add another layer. I'm going to try to draw this person a little better this time around. think it would be probably best if I put one arm out to a side like this. So like they have one arm or one hand sort of in the side of the garden, which is the imaginary world that they're still thinking of, and the other hand in the real world, which is the spaceship that they're actually on. Kind of like a metaphor for life, I guess. Alright, so this hand can kind of fade into the ground, I guess. Kind of signifying the fact that their dream isn't actually real, but yet it's not just a dream, because their hand kind of disappeared into it. So it's sort of in limbo between reality and dream at this point. And then over this side, I can have this hand. I wasn't gonna put it right out in front, but I'm gonna have this hand coming down this way. I'm gonna figure out what to do with the actual fingers at some point, but this is just a rough idea of where I want things to go. Alright, I think this is probably gonna look a lot more like it now. Yeah, that's more like it. Alright, so on this side here, what I'm gonna do, on this layer I should say, is select everything and use the erase tool, and I'm going to remove the parts that shouldn't be visible. There we go. Good, so now we can give this headless horseman an actual head. And then I can turn off that layer and make him into the horseless headsman. Yes, I did steal that from a very ancient ad that I don't even remember what it was for. Similar to the Snickers ads, I think, where this horseless headsman rides up on a horse. Well, he's actually a headless horseman, but he rides up on a horse and he's like, "I am the horseless headsman." And then somebody has to correct him, like, "No, you're a headless horseman." And I don't remember the rest of the ad, but it was pretty funny. It's also very old, which shows my age, but hey. I'm not actually that old, I'm just playing. I was thinking of making this scene kind of complicated, but the more that I build it, the more I think it will come off best if it's simple. So I might do this and then move on to another scene. Oh, hi Martin, by the way, I completely forgot to check the chat. I got so caught up in drawing that I forgot that there are people watching me. That happens sometimes, yeah, I completely forgot. This new object dialogue is pretty cool. There are a few quirks that I've noticed here and there, but that's a minor thing. I've been finding it a lot more straightforward to use than the old layers dialogue, and the fact that I can switch between object view and layer view is really useful, because now I can just select the objects that I'm working with and move them around more easily, change features more easily, like the fill and stroke and stuff like that. So it's pretty cool. The most useful part to me though is that selection capability, because sometimes you have a lot of objects in the scene and you can't really select them with the mouse that easily, so I find it really useful. Also really cool too that I can pretty much rename everything without having to jump into the XML editor. If there's one feature request I have, it should be able to order pizza, but I guess that's like way beyond Inkscape's intended capabilities. I'm just joking, of course. Doesn't have to order pizza. That'd be kind of expensive. I do have a feature request, but it is not directly related to the layers dialogue. I actually have to get back around to working on the proposal for it. I'm thinking that it would be pretty cool to have something similar to this that can actually allow you to manage documents, like manage multiple documents that you may be working on at the same time without having to use tabs. Pepperoni and cheese. That's an interesting order combination there. Not that pepperoni and cheese don't go together, but just which goes before which, I have no clue. Once they're both on the pizza, that's all I care about. And once there's pineapple on the pizza, so that there can be chaos in the world and destruction. I'm just kidding, obviously. I don't know why everyone seems to hate pineapple on pizza. Pineapple on pizza is just absolutely awesome. Oh, there goes my music. I forgot Chrome puts tabs to sleep because I have an add-on installed to do that. It's completely ignoring my settings though, not to mute or not to put tabs to sleep when music is playing, so I don't know why it did that. I used to want tabs inside of Inkscape years ago when I first started using it. Oh wait, if you can hear me twice, I just opened Twitch, by the way. Let me mute that. Right. I used to think it would be pretty cool, and then I began to actually use it a lot more and realize, as cool as it might be, apart from the memory issue, it may actually become a little bit confusing in the interface to have actual tabs. So what might be more useful is to have a kind of multi-document interface where you can, like similar to this, so you can have different files open over here. Well, not really open, but like available over here, and then like select which file you want to work on at a given time, and even duplicate a file from right here. So like say if I were working on this, I could right click on it or click a button, duplicate it, and work on the new version of it. So you could build like an icon library or an emoji library or something like that really quickly. Totally off topic, but I wonder if I should make this person look like Darth Vader or something. Never really understood the whole point of the props on Star Wars costumes, but I guess people like that. Personally, I like a more modernized sci-fi look, where there's lots of not so much inexplicable stuff, but just alien-looking stuff. That's just me, though. Getting back on topic though, with regard to Inkscape, I'm really loving the new features, and I've noticed that performance has improved quite a bit, which is really cool, because it used to get a little frustrating sometimes if you're working on a large scene and things just totally came to a grinding halt, especially because I'm on some really old hardware. So it's really cool that in recent releases and development builds especially, I'm finding the performance is way up there. And it doesn't like to freeze as much as it used to. Still crashes quite a bit, but just about everything on my system crashes quite a bit, so that's understandable. Plus I'm using development builds, so that's also expected. I'm gonna have some fun with this now. Instead of NASA, we're going to add a single letter to this. Wonder if anyone can guess what that is. Of course, I had to add an L to NASA. I wonder why no one has ever thought of that before, like, in a comedy show. Oh, I didn't even realize, by the way, that this has multi-page stuff on here. I'll have to check it out. I'm not sure where in the interface it is, because I haven't really looked at it yet. But that's cool to know. I didn't even know it landed, because I haven't checked for the latest videos yet. I got kind of busy, but that's pretty cool. I'm not getting sued for copyright infringement by using an X. I don't think he would even know that that exists, but I'm almost certain that there's some stan out there who'd be like, no, you can't use his name. So I'm just kidding. But that's another funny one. That would be funny. Like, if somebody like vandalize a NASA spaceship just before they go into space and put an X on it. Now that's the kind of nonsense that I would do, but then, you know, there's the whole getting in trouble thing, so that's the only reason I don't do stuff like that. But I would absolutely have a blast doing that. Alright, I'm gonna clean this up slightly. So let me select everything and get the eraser tool out. I really like this tool, by the way. It really makes life a lot easier. And it's so cool that you can actually do this with scalable vector graphics. Like, who would have thought that you can actually use SVG, like, if you're in GIMP? That is so cool. Alright, time for me to select some new music because I think the playlist is done. Yeah, it is. So I'm going to select a new playlist. and be right back. Okay, so now we have this person practically complete, except for this very poorly done hand over here, because fingers are difficult. I am going to try to draw a guardian over this side. I'm not sure how long this stream has been on, by the way. Oh no, that's cool. I never knew that. That the eraser tool works like that. So for those who can't see the Twitch chat, what Martin just informed me, which is really, really cool, it actually draws a path and then uses the difference tool automatically. Now that is epic. Personally, I think more people should get into using open standards and open source software such as Inkscape, not just for the sake of costs, because obviously it's free, and that's important too, but that's not my focus right now. My focus is that there's a lot more power behind these standards, open standards, and open source applications than most people realize. I think it's just that the industry kind of fools you. You have to use certain other software, and nothing against that software, just that most people are unaware that there are options. Plus, when you use open standards, you can basically share anything with anyone, and you get a greater longevity to your designs, to your software, etc. Oh, oops, I forgot to turn back on my display. My apologies. Y'all are missing all the goodness. Which is just me drawing a line, basically. I think I'm going to do something with this floor eventually, and probably draw some controls over here. But for now, I'm going to actually start working on the guardian. So we're going to have a tree somewhere over here. So maybe this tree is like something that they grew up around, whoever this person is inside the spacesuit. So they're remembering a childhood memory. I certainly have a lot of childhood memories of some very particular trees, especially one by my grandmother's house. We call them almonds, but they're not actually almonds. They're some kind of plant that I have no clue what the real name is, or at least what the common name in other countries is, if it even grows in other countries. But interestingly, we don't really get seasons such as winter and fall and spring and summer. We get a rainy season and a dry season, but these particular trees act as though they're in fall and other seasons. So what happened is that every year around this time, the tree would be basically without any leaves. So around October or so, it would start to turn red. Then by late November, most of the leaves would drop off the tree, and by December, it was completely bare. Used to be fun to watch that happening, because being in a tropical country, most trees don't bother to change color, they're just green all year. So those trees used to fascinate me. The other cool fact about them is they were almost always covered in black ants. And I used to get up to all sorts of mischief, which we will not talk about on stream, but I used to give those black ants a lot of grief. By the way, learning how these tools work in Inkscape is making me now want to explore some of the more obscure tools that I don't normally use. I guess as designers, we kind of get stuck in whatever we're familiar with and whatever works, but I like to explore sometimes. So there are some other tools in Inkscape that I'll definitely be checking out soon. I'd also like to check some of the plugins and generators and stuff that I see people using in YouTube tutorials a lot. I don't typically use them in my workflow because I have no reason to, but it would be still cool to investigate them just for the sake of it. This is a lot more of a versatile program than even I'm aware, and I use it pretty much every day. By the way, if you're watching this and you do use software such as Inkscape and you're able, make sure and donate. I plan to when I'm able. I'm not currently able to, but I plan to as soon as I'm able. Because you're not only helping the developers to eat, but you're also helping thousands, if not millions, of people around the world to do the same. Because trust me, it is not easy out there in this industry making a living doing design and stuff like that with the cost of software and all the other stuff. So having open source and especially free applications is, I mean, there are no words for it. That's all I can say. So make sure if you're able to donate, make sure you're going to donate. I really like this tree, by the way. This is like one of the best trees that I've ever done. Okay, I'm not quite sure what the acronyms that I'm seeing on the YouTube chat mean, so you'll have to explain what you're telling me there. Is that an A or an L, by the way? Drawing this is giving me so many images and memories of places I've been to and times in my life that were really enjoyable. It's really cool. I like having sessions like this where I'm not teaching anything, not trying to figure out anything. It's really, really fun to just sometimes relax, especially like this time of year. Really fun to just have some time like this and relax and enjoy it. Well, as Marhin said, you can definitely support developers of other open source software and subscribe on Patreon and any other platforms that they're using because they need that support and we need the software because trust me, not all of us have access like everyone else in certain other countries may have, and even some of the people in countries that are much better off don't have the same access as everyone else, so make sure and support. Plus, developers need to eat. So make sure that your local developer or your international developer or any developer that you know is able to eat and have nice things. I am definitely loving the look of this right now. This looks so good. And I don't normally say that about my own work that easily, but this really does look pretty good. I also like doing work with a theme to it, so this really makes me feel good to have a theme behind this. It's kind of a metaphor for what we're currently going through in the world. Like, we're all kind of in our own spaceships, having to stay home and not being able to see friends and family and all that stuff. But we can still dream and imagine greater times, and we kind of have our hands still partway in that other world that we are accustomed to. So yeah, I think this scene really fits for the time and season we're in. By the way, random shout out to whoever developed the drivers for graphics tablets under Linux, because this is so smooth. And I remember at first some people were saying, "Oh, you can't do graphics on Linux because blah 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 blah." And then I actually used it, and I was like, "What's the problem again?" Because like I'm actually looking at my other screen where Twitch is, or well, where OBS Studio is, because I'm not looking at Twitch currently, but I can see my other screen and everything's smaller and it's still smooth and I can still draw from there. That is so cool. All the delays and stuff that people complain about are not there. Shows you why you shouldn't listen to fear and uncertainty from those who don't actually know what they're talking about. Alright, I'm not gonna lie, this tree looks really good and I'm really proud of myself right now. It almost feels like somebody else did this. Well, that's pretty cool. I'm not sure, well, you can probably tell me because this is not an actual Wacom tablet. This is that company with the H and a bunch of vowels and an N. I don't really know how they pronounce that because it's a Chinese company and I am not trying to mispronounce their name right now. But yeah, it's definitely not a direct Wacom tablet, but I'm guessing that it probably uses a driver based on that or something. You can probably tell me. I think it's Huion. I'm not sure. Then again, I could just look at my tablet. Yeah, Huion. Oh, that's cool. Never knew that. So you see what happens when companies actually take the time to invest in open source and don't just bash it without looking. What a wonderful world we could have. Totally random thing just occurred to me, but I wonder if any of like the superheroes and stuff are using open source software. It'd be really cool to have a scene where, like, say Iron Man or Batman or somebody is doing something and suddenly you see a notice for like a GNU license come up on the screen. Or maybe like they get a cease and desist letter because they're using the source code but not giving back to the community. That would be really hilarious. Maybe that's a prop to Marvel or DC or somebody to hire me. Never know what could happen. I mean, well, a plug. I don't know why I said prop, but that's a plug to Marvel or DC. Hire me. Although I plan to defeat them eventually, so hire me temporarily. I'm gonna give some more shading to this side. Wait, I'm actually on the wrong layer for that. I just remembered. Alright, so let me delete those pieces. I mean, I could have selected them and moved them, but it's easier if I just find the right layer. There it is. Let me rename this. Oops. From an artistic and thematic standpoint, this shading is pretty important to me because it's kind of signifying that even though there's more light over this side in the spaceship, the person's thoughts are darker on this side because this is kind of where they don't want to be. That's a good point. Marhin, that's a really good point about the fact that most superheroes probably use open source software because how else do they have the time? I often think about that too from a storytelling standpoint. As a writer myself, I think about the fact that we kind of overlook certain details because it's fiction and we're not really thinking too hard. But like, reality is Batman doesn't have time to come up with all the stuff that he does. He's not that smart. Neither does Iron Man. So it would be nice if in some of these stories that more attention is given to the fact that they're borrowing a lot of their stuff from other people. And maybe like similar to what Iron Man 2 did, have them get in trouble for it from time to time. Only problem with Iron Man 2 is that they didn't really execute that story very well. But it was still a good basis for a story where he, or at least his father, stole someone else's technology and it comes back to haunt them. That would be really cool if that was explored a lot more. Shameless plug, by the way, I am writing my own superhero universe, and that does happen in one of the volumes. I haven't actually written the volume yet, but I have that particular aspect of the story in the notes. So shameless plug for anyone who is interested in superhero stuff. I do have my own story where I explore some themes like that, where someone basically decides, hey, I'm going to take someone else's work and use it, but I'm going to do it unethically. And of course we all know what happens when you do that, but I won't give you any spoilers. Oops, I went drawing in the wrong layer again. Alright, let me close this one. This here is garden. Alright, I think I'm pretty satisfied with this side. And this side I think I'm going to keep it simple because I like the idea of how bright and simple the spaceship looks, whereas the garden looks a lot more real, even though that's the dream sequence. So I'm going to leave it like that. Just to fix this hand over here and then probably finish this scene altogether. I might do a second scene, but I'm not sure. We'll see. That's something that always makes me laugh. That idea that alien software and alien biology and alien hardware and stuff like that just magically works with ours. I often, when I'm watching movies with aliens, I'm like, you do realize that if they're alien, we wouldn't have a clue what to do with them and they wouldn't have a clue what to do with us. The fact that, like, take for instance, we always have aliens eating people kind of makes me laugh too, because I'm thinking, like, you do know that they probably don't eat our kind of organic life, right? Like, they don't really care for eating us. They'd probably just care for blasting us off the face of the planet, because we probably wouldn't taste very good. I think it'd be more interesting if writers decided to try a little harder in terms of stuff like that, like come up with something completely unprecedented. Exactly. Like, if they turn us into fuel instead of turning us into food, that would make for a very, very interesting story. Kind of like The Matrix meets Men in Black. Alright, let me stop adding details to these other parts over here and actually work on that hand. So where is it? Okay, here it is. Another thing I really love about this scene right now is that it has this simultaneous exciting and sentimental feeling, and also it kind of feels like sad and deep and thoughtful. So like the person is part way between being happy about what they can remember, and they're also at the same time sad about what they're currently experiencing, the loneliness of being in space. It's a good analogy for the human experience. I'm waxing all philosophical here. That would be pretty awesome if you could highlight on hover. Oh, by the way, now that you're here, I just remembered something that would be pretty cool to have. If instead of selecting a layer and then selecting fill and stroke, well, this doesn't really work exactly like that, but right, you kind of have to select it twice to get it to work. It would be really cool if there was just a button next to these, like the same icon for fill and stroke. You just click on that and it jumps you right over to here, and then you can modify opacity and stuff like that directly from there. I'm not sure if that's technically possible or at least straightforward to do, but it would be really cool. I still need to work on drawing feet altogether. I'm not like the best at that, so I'm gonna kind of leave these simple. But I've been trying to improve in terms of drawing human features a lot more. Well, that's another good idea. I still think it would be better from a user experience standpoint if there is a button there that allows you to do that automatically, but dragging it to the bottom wouldn't be a bad idea either. Okay, I'm not sure if it's actually possible right now with this notebook bar. Yeah, it doesn't seem to be working. Oh, let me see if I can try that. Oops, if I can try getting it done again. Should I drag it to the bottom? Wait, that. Oh, I see. Nice. Yeah, that is slightly hard to find, but at least now I know it's possible. That's really useful to have. Okay, I think this scene is pretty much complete. So I'm just going to add my name at the bottom. How long has this stream been on, by the way? I haven't even checked. Oh, I've been on for just over an hour. I didn't even realize that. So I think I'm probably going to call it a night around this point. Alright, let me see something here. This can go. Oh, by the way, I really love the new snapping tools in Inkscape. That is probably one of my absolute favorite features ever. I was watching some Illustrator tutorials and stuff like that recently, and I saw people using stuff like that, and I said that would be nice to have. And then I realized that we were suddenly able to do it, and I was really excited. And I've been using it ever since. Totally improved my workflow. Well, kudos to them because they definitely did do a good job. Makes Inkscape feel a lot more professional. I mean, it has always been a professional tool, and I'm not one of those people who likes to use terms like professional only for proprietary software anyway, but it does make Inkscape feel like it's really up there. In fact, I can just put this up to the top. Oops, not that one. Right, there we go. Okay, from an artistic interpretation standpoint, on a philosophical standpoint, this is some good stuff. Between the worlds of my mind. So this person is between the real world and the imaginary world, between the experience that they want to have and the experience that they are having. So that's some pretty good stuff. I think I'm going to resize this title a bit because it's taking up a little too much space. That is a good idea, actually. This does look like a VR helmet. And it does give that kind of feeling too. Like you're just kind of sitting there and experiencing something that's not really there. You know what I forgot to do outside the window? I wanted to add some, like, space, kind of. And that can add to the realism. So before I go, I'm going to actually drop that in. Let me see, which layer is this? Alright, this is window. Right, so we're gonna drop it on this back layer here. Quick question, because I have never actually investigated this and I don't remember. Does Inkscape allow you to save a background color for your images, or do you have to add that manually every time? It's been so many years and I never actually stopped to check. Okay, so right, page color. There's my answer right there. You know, come to think of it, I can make the sun continue through the window. But what I'm going to do, this is going to be really cool. I'm going to have the sun coming from this angle. So it's like there's the same sun from two different perspectives. Alright, so let me unlock this layer here and draw a circle. I'm cheating this time instead of going through all the hassle of actually drawing those lines up and down. And we'll just drop this in here. Well, for now, let me make this slightly translucent. And then I'm going to use this eraser tool here to make this have some rough edges, so that it looks a little more realistic. Oh yes, the contrast on this is really, really cool. I don't normally praise my own work, but this time I'm very proud of this one. Oops. I clicked too quickly there just now. Alright, let me turn snapping back off. I hope Inkscape is not about to crash, because as you can tell, my mouse is frozen. Okay, good. Whew. Before I go and lose this, let me save this file, because that would be absolutely terrible. I do have auto-save enabled, always, but I still don't want to run the risk of losing this. Oh wait, I'm still in websites. That's why I can't see artwork. There it is. For some reason, I find these development builds are not adding the SVG, what you call it, file extension. I'm not sure why. Okay, I definitely need to turn snapping back off. And I have to wait a minute. Yeah, I've been noticing that it is not adding the file extension when I save without typing it in myself. It's not that big of a deal though, because usually I just go back and fix it, but it would still be nice if it didn't actually cause that issue. Oops, you broke it. That happens though. Now this is so cool. It's like everything gets flipped around. Kind of reminds me of the fact that in real life, in order to take images of the sun, we have to darken it because it's just so bright. So we had to invent a new form of photography that takes shadows rather than trying to take actual images of light. That is an interesting concept to visualize here. Alright, I'm going to put some circles in this shortly. As I always say, organized chaos is the key to natural looks. Plus we get some solar flares because we're actually in space. So you can actually see, well, not solar flares, I mean you can actually see the corona of this star. Solar flares are something completely different. And if there was a solar flare, this person being so close to the sun would be pretty much dead. Alright, last step is now to add some more detail to the window itself so that it actually looks a lot more like a window. Because now that I have this backdrop here with the rough edges, it will need some more detail. I have to say this is probably my absolute favorite scene so far since I started streaming. I've done a lot of scenes and I like all of them, or at least most of them, but this one is probably my absolute favorite so far. I mean, it really looks good. I think I'm going to leave this window looking kind of rough too because it gives you the concept of, although it's real, or at least this is supposed to be the real side of things, it still kind of feels like you're being sucked into something that isn't quite real. I guess this could be another philosophical way to show how life kind of blurs those lines between what's real and what's not real, even in real life itself. But the interesting thing is, if you were to go through this window, you would quickly find out what's real. Because if it's not space that takes you out, it's the sun. So this is a pretty good philosophical picture right here. I was thinking to add some stars, but then I remembered that realistically, the closer you are to a sun, or a star I should say, the harder it is to see the other stars in the background. So I'm probably going to just leave this window with just a dark background and the sun in the corner. A planet would be nice though, so maybe I could do that. See, my mind just always comes up with something at random, so This is why it's hard for me to just stop something. Like if I design something like a website or an icon or anything like that, it's hard for me to just keep it simple because I'm always coming up with something. If it looks simple, it's usually because I remove something rather than I just went straight for it. Okay, that looks really nice. So I'm going to add a planet. And I'm going to use a thicker stroke for this one. Oops, wrong color. Not to worry, this will be resized. I'm just kind of doing it big at first. Then I'm going to resize it down to the size it should actually be at. Wonder if I can add rings to this. Okay, that's obviously too thick, so I'm gonna need to turn this back down again. Okay, that probably isn't as realistic like that, so I'll leave it with just one ring instead. Nice. There we are. So that's that. I'm going to be posting this on my store, so anyone who wants to download it, buy it, whatever you want to do. So you can look out for that on teespring.rolanditsar.pro and my Redbubble, redbubble/people/RolandItsar, and Gumroad. That would be rolanditsar.gumroad.com. And until next time, I am this guy right here, Roland Itsar, aka Roland Taylor, Roland L. Taylor. You can find me on Twitter, YouTube, Twitch, pretty much everywhere. And I enjoy doing this just about every week. You can find me on here every Thursday, 5:30 AST. That's Atlantic Standard Time, or 5:30 if you're under daylight savings time, Eastern Time in the US. Everywhere else, you'll have to calculate on your own. Hope you all enjoyed it today. I definitely did. Had a lot of fun. I'll see you probably next week. Yeah, so until next time, I'm out.